I'll never retire. This is just a passion. If I go on a vacation, I'm still driving for dollars. I'm like, oh, look at that, I don't think I'll ever retire. I think that once you can step back, obviously, but I'll always be in it some way. I like to work my brain. I like to work through puzzles, and I'll shift. And I say this a lot. I've pivoted and shifted so much of my business. I'm doing the cha-cha, and right now it's like one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back. But I'll shift and pivot, and I'm in that right now where I have a lot of conversations with people. People want to call and talk to me, and we have conversations, but they're more of a brainstorming conversation of, how can you do better in your business? And as I'm talking to them, I'm thinking, oh, I'll tell them things to do, and I'm like, oh, why am I not doing that?
Welcome to Burning the Ships podcast, and I'm your host, Jason Seward, and today I have Miss Lisa Ferris. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to get this done. We had a couple technical issues before we started recording. We got through all those, and now we're rocking and rolling. So, Lisa, you and I are just recently introduced, but we've kind of been connected through the Dealmaker group and that culture and environment. You run a Dealmaker in Central Texas, and we just started one here in Virginia, in the Hampton Roads area. And I think I was telling you the way I really got connected with you is I had several guests come on here and reference something about you or your book or something like that. So I was like, all right, I need to connect with Lisa and get her on this podcast. So I'm glad we've been able to do that. Before we get into your story and everything you have going on, I'm going to toss it over to JJ for JJ's Joke of the Week. Take it away, buddy. All right, JJ, another good one. That's my little man, my 9-year-old JJ. So I tell everybody, nobody in my family's ever listened to a single episode we put out, except he listens to the first 30 seconds so he can hear his joke every week. So, so funny.
It's one way to get him involved, right?
That's right. Exactly right. So Lisa, welcome to Burning the Ships. We're happy to have you.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited to be here and privileged that you even thought to have me on.
Oh no, it's awesome. And I know some of my favorite episodes are the ones where I'm kind of learning the guest story in real time with our audience. So that's kind of what we're going to do here. I know generally what you're into, but I can't wait to dive deeper into it, hear your story and your evolution through real estate and life and all those things. So we'll get into it. We'll get it kicked off. I'm going to turn it over to you and just let you introduce yourself in any way that you want. And then I'll have a pile of questions behind that. So take it away when you're ready.
Well, where to start? I've been a realtor or had my license for 20 years, and real estate investing just kind of fell in my lap. And it came about with a lady that had a POS house that I really did not want to list. And so I made her an offer on it. I said, I didn't want to list it. She wanted me to GC the renovation on it. And at the end of the day, I was going to rehab her whole house and sell it for her and make $3,000. And I just wasn't excited about that. So I made her an offer and she said, yes. And I was like, I don't have any money. How am I going to buy the house? So I just asked her if she would take payments for it. And she said yes. And I wound up wholesaling it. I just got busy and wholesaled that deal and walked away with a nice chunk of money. And I was like, hey, I like this. So went under contract around the corner on another house and found a client of mine that she was under contract to sell a house that was free and clear. And she was closing the same day I was supposed to close on my next renovation. And so her name's Linnell. I took Linnell to McDonald's. And I said, hey, Linnell, would you like to partner with me on my rehab? And I explained the numbers and everything. And she said, yes. And so that's where it all began for me. And I've been doing that ever since. And I just buy all my properties, no money out of my pocket. and always 100% private money. And that's kind of where I've gone with our business. We have short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, property out in Louisiana, and it's all with private money and no money out of my pocket every single time. So
Mhm.
I had a lot of questions about it, and I did presentations about it, and that wasn't good enough. And I would go into it and have private conversations about it, and it wasn't good enough. And so I wrote my book. It tells everything, and it's called How to Find and Fund Any Real Estate Deal Without Cash or Credit. And I've never been asked my credit score either. So that's
Right.
kind of who I am and what I do. And it's just a mindset thing. You've just got to ask for the business.
So so let's go back a little bit because you were a real estate agent first, and then you kind of fell into that first deal. Were prior to that, were you not thinking or already about like how do I become an investor myself? Did it literally just happen because of that one deal?
I bought a $1,000 Ron LeGrand course. I took his course, and then the next day I met with this lady who wanted me to list her property, and I pulled the trigger. I moved on what I was trained in his course to do. And no, before that I really hadn't thought about it because it was so out of reach. I didn't have any money. I was a realtor opening doors, and I guess at that point I realized if I'm going to keep the lights on, I'm going to have to open the doors, open the doors, open the doors. And I said, I don't want to be 70 years old opening the doors. So that's what made me start thinking of different avenues of having different income.
Yeah. Did the course you took prior to that first one, was it specific to using private money, how to buy without your own money and stuff like that?
No, not necessarily. It was my first taste of real estate investing, and it just covered a lot of different things. So I didn't have part two figured out. I had part one figured out, make the offer. And then when it came to part two, I was like, what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
She can say no. And that's what I say now. It's either one or the other, yes or no.
Yeah.
So
That we call that ready, fire, aim. Just figure it out, that's
exactly.
well forever. Yeah, it's and I love that. That's how you build resilience and all that stuff by just learning on the fly, and sometimes you make mistakes. But I want to go back a little bit because you mentioned, how did you initially become a real estate agent? Like what was the path that led you into that career?
Well, I had been a stay-at-home mom for 18 years. We moved a lot, so there really wasn't a chance for me to get a job, work up. 4 kids in daycare. It was cheaper for me to stay home. So I stayed at home for 18 years. And then when the kids went to grade school, I got a job in a real estate office as a receptionist. And I just watched and I watched the hustle. And then when we got to a place where we were going to be stationary for a few years, I got a job as an assistant. And I set up this gentleman's processes and systems and, all of that. And I was like, hey, I can do this better.
Mhm.
So I just got my license and took off from there. And I still have my license. I sell a few people's properties, but it's just mainly for us. I don't take buyers or sellers very often.
Gotcha. So you do that, you build to a point where you take that first deal down and then right into another one. Sounds like you use McDonald's to find a partner, which I
Yes.
would have partnered with you too if you bought me a double cheeseburger to McDonald's. So how did that partnership evolve beyond that one deal, or did
Yes, she's still my lender today. She was my best lender for a long time. And when her funds were tied up, I realized I had to start finding more lenders that would work with me. And it took a little bit for me to realize that if I had a good deal, that the funding was the easy part. And so that's where my mindset is now. A little bit ago, about a year ago, I had two deals I couldn't find funding for, and I was just defeated. And I reached out to somebody in Dealmaker, kind of talked through this stuff, and they told me, hey, look at your deals again. And I went back and looked at my deals. They were not deals. And that's why I wasn't able to get funding. So what people need to understand is if it's a good deal, you're going to get funding. And now I am intentional about putting myself out there that we do use private money lending. I have a notebook with people's names in it and approximately what they would be interested in funding. And our last deal, I sent 3 texts, and within 3 minutes, I had somebody that said, I can do that.
Yeah.
And so that's just
Yeah.
how I do it.
I think you're a couple points to make on that. Number one is you figured this out, it sounds like, out of necessity. You didn't have the capital to take these deals, so you had to partner with people that actually had that, and then that evolved to building that network of folks with capital that maybe don't want to operate the day-to-day of a flip or a burr or something like that, but they do want to participate with their capital and get the returns. So you learn that through necessity, and then sounds like you've dialed that in and built that network over time. The other piece is, and as a lender myself, and I was a borrower for many years building my portfolio, but now we lend money. There is a reason if you're trying to find capital for a deal and you're striking out, like you're having a lot of lenders tell you, no, we'll pass on this one, it's probably not a deal to the point you just make. Because if it's a good enough deal, there is endless money out there that will fund it if you're doing the right steps and finding that money. So if you're being told no by all of these sources of capital, you might want to go back to the drawing board and reassess that deal and underwrite it. So I'm glad you made that point, because we're telling people no just about every day because it's just not a good deal from our perspective. And a lot of folks aren't, I think pride gets in the way a lot of time because they want to think they have a good deal. But if the capital is not funding that deal, it's not a deal, I promise you. So, yeah.
Right. They're trying to shove it through, and it really isn't. And the lender is saving them in the end. If they can't get funding, then they just got out of a bad deal. And we do lending too, on a smaller basis. But yes, a lot of times they'll have a horrible deal, and I'm like, no, you need to relook at this. This is not a deal.
Yep. So as far as, let's talk about skill sets for a second, because you went, like you said, for 18 years, you were not in corporate America. You were not, working for a company or building a business yourself. But during those years, you were building skills, right? Like you're running a household. You were sharpening whatever skills you needed to then, once it was time to move on to your next phase, you were able to do it. But from a skill set standpoint, what is it? Sales? Do you think that has been the number one skill that has allowed you to expand upon whatever you've done so far, or is it more problem solving, a mix of the two? Kind of walk us through what skill set you think has positioned you to best do what you've done.
Yes. Sales, no, not at all. I'm not a salesperson at all. I think when I did Realtor, my thought always was I always thought outside the box. You can't just put a listing on the market. You've got to do things. I would do wine tasting tours with 8 other agents in the area, and we get a lot, like 50 people through the houses, whereas a regular one just gets 3 or 4 people. So I always thought outside the box. I don't have a box, to be honest with you.
I love it.
And that's kind of the way I think that's my my superpower, if you want to call it that, is just thinking outside the box, thinking through things. And that's where my saying is everything is figureoutable. I will sit and think about a deal before I move or say anything, and then finally get the solution in my head. But I think that's something. As far as I think I've evolved a lot in many ways because I was always shy. I was always the person that would sneak out the back of the meetup before talking to anybody. And I just finally had to tell myself it's a mindset change. You've got to start talking to people, start being intentional, start building relationships. Because I'm a numbers girl. I'm like, boom, 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 this is this. And I was like, okay, slow down, get to know these people, talk to these people, understand these people. So I've evolved out of necessity, just because that's the way I do business. It's relationship. It's all relationship based,
Yeah.
the way I do business.
Everything is figureoutable is one of my favorite things. Have you read the actual book, Maria Forleo? Her book,
No, I
I think
have
it's
not.
figureoutable. That somebody sent me that book probably I don't know 6 years ago, and I read it, and I that I already had that mindset my entire life. Just being and that I'm with you. That's my superpower. I'm not the best at sales. I'm not the best at analytics. I know you're a numbers person. I'm not so much, but I love almost to the point where I create problems sometimes just to have something to figure out, right? And that's exhausting for those around me, but I love that mindset and I think and I agree with you. I like that having that ability to be creative, resourceful, resilient when things don't go right and not crumble under the pressure and being able to just figure your way out through situations. I don't know that there's a better skill you can have. And I don't even know if that's a skill. It's just something you learn over time, right?
Yeah, it is. It's just I just think people need to slow down and instead of jumping at the first whatever comes to their head. And this is an example, like as a realtor, I would see agents there's an issue with title or there's a issue with the survey, they'd run to their clients and everybody's up in arms and everybody's stressed and stuff. I would keep that under my hat, try to work through it with the title company, the survey company, or whatever. And then if it was truly an issue, I would bring it to my client. Otherwise, they had no clue what was going on. My hair was on fire from the day I was under contract until we closed. They had no idea. It just was my fire, not theirs.
Right. When did you release your book? It's been within the last year, correct?
Yes. That is a really good question. About 6 months ago, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prior to writing that book, let's go back years and years. Had you ever thought, like, do you have a skill for writing? Had you ever thought, I want to be an author one day?
Yeah, I actually did.
Okay.
A lot of, I've always done training in the office, at the real estate offices. I've always enjoyed teaching. I enjoy talking. I had thought that I might write a book, but it was so beyond me, it was one of those out of reach things. So, and then one thing that I said, I'm a starter. I'm not a finisher. Like as a kid, I would have 10 craft projects going on and I would never ever ever finish any of them. It's just a mess. And this I said, okay, I'm going to write a book. And I sat down and I made sure that I wrote the book and I start to finish. It was just like I had to do it because people were wanting it and needing the information. And it's not just newbies, it's people that have been in the business forever, but they're capped. Well, no, you're not capped. You just don't know how to get out of that rut. There's many ways to get out of it. So,
I I'm the same way. I'm a good 0 to 1 person. Beyond one, I've got to have a team around me to implement it. I'm the ideas person, and but the same way I've started so many things that if I'm doing it on my own, they never get finished. Great idea, great vision, but but that in itself, with the right team and resources around you, can be a superpower as well, right? But standing on an island like that, not much gets done. So, but so the book, back to the book. When you started it, you mentioned you committed. You're gonna see this thing through. You obviously have. Did you did you build a structure around the path to finish it? Did you time block, like I'm going to write an hour a day every day or something like that? Or did you just kind of, I'm just going to do it and grind your way through it?
I did. I pretty much put everything on the back burner and focused on that. And I did have a timeline, which um, I did better than my timeline. And I made sure that I put a lot of my personality, my life, because you've got so many books out there that are just regurgitated information, real estate information. And when I initially thought that I was going to write it, I would buy books and read through them and just make sure to brush up, but they were all the same. And none of them had personality. And I thought, well, I'm going to do this a little bit different. You know, I'm going to be vulnerable and tell people about my story, how I do it. And the mindset shift. You have to read it. You would not believe the shift that just getting into real estate has done for me and my I guess confidence. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
life changing, really.
I'm certainly going to read it, but I have you in person right now. So let's talk about that mindset, just because I can read it on. This will add a little bit more value and context when I do actually read it, and anybody in the audience that decides to do so as well. So,
Well,
what
in
was that?
my
Yeah.
okay, in my entire life, I've been kind of the second person. I've never been the I don't know the word to use, but I've never been in the spotlight. I've always been just kind of the sidekick or whatever. And when Jim opened up Dealmaker to move to create one in our own city, because we had talked to him about that. When are you coming to Texas? When are you come to Texas? And he's like, no, 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 he wasn't going to do that. So when we found out we could bring one to Texas, it was amazing. And that brought me out of, I've never spoke in front of people. I'm not comfortable in front of people. My face turns red. I'm a wallflower. I sit in the back. I listen. I sneak out. That's me. And, so I'm evolving and, my husband Mark is he pushes me. He believes in me more than I do. And he's like, you can do this. And just silly things like, you know, I'm trying to, you know, be a woman. Oh, I can't do this. He's like, you got this. Go do it.
Mm. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. But anyway, it's and then two, my other thing is just ask. And that is something that I have in my head all the time is just ask. What's the worst that can happen? And people have to get that. They're afraid to ask, and I'm afraid every single time I ask, but I do it anyway. And there are just some shifts. I had one lady tell me, I say, be intentional all the time. Be visible, be intentional. And I had one lady tell me, she said she's been on social media and she said, I had you in my head saying, be intentional. I said, boy, that's scary. You don't want me in your head.
So that's good, and certainly, especially with like promoting a book or a mindset, and you actually start launching a deal maker there. Like you've got to lead that. You have to be in front of people. So you had to make that shift in order for all that to work. Are you still? I know the answer to this. It'll always be evolving. But are what are some strategies you use along the way to help you be more comfortable and being more in the spotlight rather than, a second, or behind? It's the person that's in the spotlight. What is the shifts you made? Or some
Well,
strategies?
I have imposter syndrome. So I feel like, what value do I have to give? And, I've had to change that. That's 100% a change that I've had to do. And then now I'm working on Instagram. Um, hate to do videos, hate the way I sound, hate the way I look. Well, now I'm all over it. I'm doing my videos and I'm, um, once again, just thinking, what value can I give? I'm just little old Lisa over here. And, so that's helped too, just doing that being allowed to be myself. Like my daughter records me. My daughter works with me, and she records me. But since she's in my face recording me, it's intimidating. And she's like, smile, smile, let your personality show. And I'm like, I am. But I, I locked myself in the guest room the other day and with my camera and just let myself be me. And so anyway, I'm just trying to let my personality be get out, and then also be intentional, put it on Facebook, get rid of the voices in your head that say, nobody's, they're going to think you're silly or whatever. But just it's business building, but it's also building friendships and networks and allies that, I mean, I could call or text anybody any time of day and I would have somebody talk through a problem with me. And that is pure gold right there.
I'm curious your thoughts on this because, or like, I dealt with very similar things because I was years in the corporate world before I went full time into real estate and everything I'm doing. Kind of real estate was always a side hustle, right? So my main focus was my job that did not require me to be in front of a lot of folks other than my team at work, right? So, and I had no presence on social media other than my wife tagging me in vacation pictures and stuff with the kids. So when I made that transition to exactly what you're talking about, just being out there more and the biggest struggle I had was imposter syndrome, but thinking every time a video went out, I'm thinking about all the people that know me. It's like, wait a minute, all of a sudden Jason's trying to be an influencer and all these things and it took me months, almost a year to finally get comfortable where I didn't care. A lot of what I was thinking people were thinking, maybe some were, but that they weren't even paying attention to me, right? And I was having this anxiety around it that once I overcame it, I don't care what's out there now. But are you kinda, or have you gone through that same thing where you're building stuff up in your head about what other people are thinking that already have known you forever, and that's kind of holding you back a little bit?
Yes. Actually, I did go through that because I used to have two profiles. One was family and friends with 300 or 400 people, and then my real estate. So I spoke real estate to the real estate. I call it my professional, where so me normally is things come out of my mouth before they cross my brain. So on my real estate side, I had to curb that just a little bit. But I didn't talk real estate at all on my friends and family. So now I had to combine them. And it's really interesting because I've had conversations with friends that are like, wow, I bought your book. I'm not the least bit interested in real estate, but I bought your book. And just different things that I've done, like even the decorating things. I'm decorating our house and blinging it up and just things that's like, wow, I don't know why I kept it from them for so long. I shouldn't have
Yeah.
separated it, but yes, it's exactly that. I have these conversations in my head thinking, they're going to think I'm weird or full of it or whatever. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I, we have a social media team that runs all of our stuff, right? And the main manager of that she's mid-20s. She's on top of all the trends, and she is constantly saying, "Need y'all to record this video and have him come in at this time because it's trending on." I never go on TikTok. We have a TikTok account, but it's trending on there, and I still to this day I'm like, well, I'm 44 years old. I'm not going to get in the middle of some kind of trend, but at the same time, somebody it draws attention to the other things we're doing, and there is a formula that worked for that. And I've kind of resigned to the facts of they know what they're doing, they know what works. I'm just going to do it, and if people think it's annoying or laugh at it or roll their eyes, so be it. Like it is what it is, and it. But it's taken me a while to get there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 60 this year. I knew that I had an Instagram. Um, I do have a TikTok. I don't know where, but I do have a TikTok
Same.
somewhere. But just trying to get into this, you're lucky you've got a younger person.
Yeah.
And me too. Courtney does a lot of this stuff, and we do some fun stuff. We've got a real fun skit we're going to do soon, but that's just the thing is, it just brings attention. It's not, hey, look at me. Well, kind of it is, but it's just, it's having fun. It's bringing attention to what you do. But it's not always serious. It doesn't have to be totally serious on social media.
Yeah. And that's where we're at right now, where like it's 20 years ago, you got to know people's personalities by, or 20 plus years by hanging out with them, like being around them physically. Now, people, it's a very easy way to let people know who you are. They can decide whether they like and trust you based off of what you're putting out there. As long as it's authentic, you can see through the inauthentic stuff. Folks that you meet her in person, they're nothing like who they you see online. But if that's authentic, it's a great way to build trust, to build folks that when it is time to do business with you, they already kind of have that, okay, well, I believe him. I trust her. I want to do business. I like what their values are because of what they've already seen the last few years online. So I think it does serve that purpose very well. So
It does a lot. I've had strangers reach out to me and say, "Hey, I've been watching you. I see what you're doing. I want to fund your next deal." I'm like, "Okay,
yeah,
let me hustle and get the next deal." But it's amazing. I think that so. I have shared my fitness journal or journey, which has been a roller coaster ride, and I post about the roller coaster ride. But I once again in my head thinking, people are going to say this or that. But I had so many people reach out to me and say, "Hey, you inspired me. You inspired me." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to keep doing that because that's the whole point." And what I tell everybody, and I'll say it every time, is my goal is my goal. Your goal is your goal. Don't try to keep up with my goal. And I think that's helpful to people because what I'm doing over here has nothing to do with what you're doing, but I'm just showing you, I have been out of the gym for 3 months at this point, and I'm going back tomorrow. And several of my girlfriends have said, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. But we inspire people through real estate or fitness or relationships or whatever. We inspire people, and we've just got to realize that you're going to have haters and you're going to have people that you inspire, and just ignore the haters.
it takes for me, one person telling me they were inspired by a workout they saw me do or a video I posted or a podcast. That's all I need to hear. I literally do not care. If one person that their average steps per day were 3,000 and now they're doing 10,000. We just had this recently. Somebody tell us this because they saw a post we made about a step challenge we did. That's all I need. Now that person is on a path to go wherever they go with that. And that's all I care about is one person or the next person being inspired. Sounds like you're the same way there. And I like to the point you just made to wrap up that if anybody hates that's their thing and that's fine. They have the right to do that. That's their place to do that, but it's not going to stop me trying to share what I'm doing, not from a arrogant way or a look at me way. It's this is what I'm doing. You can do whatever version works for you that makes you healthier or more successful in business or whatever. I'm just here to share what I'm doing. So
Right. I've heard people say like body shaming or whatever, and that is their issue. That's their issue. That's they can take it or just keep scrolling past it. But I just feel like um business and fitness is important to share, and it will inspire people, and it'll some people will hate you for it, but that's not my business. I don't really
yeah.
care.
And the more people paying attention, God, I always forget who said this, but like 1% of people are just gonna be mean, right? They're just gonna be mean people. That's who they are. Well, if you've got 100 people watching, that means one person might be mean. That's not a big deal. You got 10,000 people kind of seeing and following along. That means 100 of them are going to be mean. Now you start to feel it, like they start to stand out, but it's still just 1%, and that's not a big percentage. Most people like genuinely appreciate, even if they're not influenced by it themselves, they appreciate what you're trying to do. Um, so got on a nice little tangent there about social media. So you have been at this for a number of years. You got the book, you wrote the book. You're influencing a lot of folks to take action, I would imagine, in your area and beyond, with everything you're doing. Um, you've had a lot of success. I would imagine you're probably at a point where you could dial it back. You could chill out and you build up a portfolio or some systems that could be a little more passive. Why do you keep going? Why do you keep going so hard? And what does the vision look like from this point forward?
I think like you, I'll never retire. This is just a passion. If I go on a vacation, I'm still driving for dollars. I'm like, oh, look at that. Um, I don't think I'll ever retire. I think that once you can step back, obviously, but I'll always be in it some way. I like to work my brain. I like to work through puzzles. And I'll shift. And I say this a lot. I've pivoted and shifted so much of my business. I'm doing the cha-cha. And right now it's like one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back. But I'll shift and pivot, and I'm in that right now where I have a lot of conversations with people. People want to call and talk to me, and we have conversations, but they're more of a brainstorming conversation of, how can you do better in your business? And as I'm talking to them, I'm thinking, oh, I'll tell them things to do, and I'm like, oh, why am I not doing that? And so it's very helpful to both of us. But I'm going to be more intentional about talking to people and helping people and working through things, because things that are easy for me, they're struggling with. And same thing with them, things that are easy for them, I'm struggling with. So I think it'll be good. And like this deal maker, this is absolutely incredible. It's turned into something much more than I thought it would be. It's a family, and it's integrity. That's what drew me to it, was the integrity of the people in Dealmaker. We were having issues in this area with lack of integrity in groups. And that's why I started going to Virginia. I'm like, I just need a real estate family. And that's where I wound up with that. But no, I'll never retire. I'll get more into passive. We do land on a small basis. We'll do that more. And we've dabbled in, like I said, we've got we do fix and flip, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, and at one point I was like, wait a second, pick one avenue. let's stop bouncing around everywhere. And we've kind of landed on what works for us. And
For
and
now.
for now. We thought we wanted to go another direction, get into commercial, get into apartments. Then we have a conversation with somebody's like, you don't want to be there. Just, this is where it's good and where it's not. So, like I said, I'm going to be 60 this year. I still love to do flips. I'm not ready to give that up yet. I love to be out there. We demoed one of our houses recently, and we all had fun. I told Courtney, I'm going to charge you, um, for admission for the rage room. She had a sledgehammer, and she was having a blast. I said, I'm going to charge you admission.
Yeah, that's funny. I, I love, so this is something I've wrestled with, and I've in my mind right now, I've got it dialed in, but for a number of years is like this idea of destination versus journey. You hear it a lot, and I would ask early in this podcast, I'd ask a lot of guests, um, do you get more excited about the destination or the journey? Like which one excites you the most? My answer for year up until the last 4 years, 3 or 4 years, was always like I was working. All I could think about was retirement. I can't wait until I don't have to do this job anymore and I can go play golf or hunt or fish or whatever it is I want to do with every day I want to do it. And so it was always destination focused. And as I started, once I left the corporate career mostly, but started more into my entrepreneurial journey and then asking people this question on the podcast, I started thinking about it myself. And what I've come up with is like, no, the destination is the journey. I want to create a journey that I love so much that I want it to never end. And there'll be different iterations. I'll chase this or that, but that's where I'm at. And I don't like, yes, I work hard every day. I don't know that I'll ever stop. I don't, and it might be on different things, but it sounds like that's what I'm hearing with you. Like it might be when I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s, I might be focused on things that are more charity focused or something, but I'm gonna always be solving a puzzle or trying to build something. And that's where I've gotten with it. And it sounds like you're there as well.
Oh yeah, and I have a real problem with it's Monday morning. I need to be in the office at this time and this, and even if I worked all weekend long. And so I have that issue. So I'm trying to back up from that. And then we have a lot of friends. We live in a retirement community. They're golfing, they're going to the pool, they're playing pickleball, they want me to go do this and that. And I'm like, I have a job. I'm working, and I have to tell myself, no, you need to take some time off and do it. But I absolutely love what I do. It's very exciting, but I've got to, relax a little bit,
There's a balance for
go
sure.
play some
Yeah.
pickleball.
Yeah. There you go. You mentioned being on vacation and that not turning off, looking for the next deal. My wife and I, 3 or 4 years ago, we went just the two of us. We left the kids with the grandparents, went to the Bahamas to one of the like out islands, like one of the not the main island, but it was went and rented a like a little cabin there on the beach. It was awesome, but I got there and I was seeing all this. I was like, man, God, I wonder if there's any opportunities here for us to like. So I went across like the little lagoon we were on. There was another island and a resort over there. So we went over there to eat dinner one night, and the owner happened to be there. And so I've started talking to him. The next day, we're back over there. He's showing me these development properties that he's in the middle of new construction. And I'm sitting here meeting with him. My wife, of course, just along for the ride. She's in the Bahamas. She's happy. But we go back to the restaurant. It wasn't open yet. Pen and pad, trying to crunch numbers. And I'm trying to figure out, like, is this a deal that I should? So that's how my vacations go, because I love that stuff, right? I just love, always trying. And I didn't buy anything, but I just share that example because my brain's always on as far as it.
Always,
Yeah,
always. Yep.
yeah. So cool. Well, your book, and I don't want you to like. I want people to go buy the book and read it, right? So I don't want to dive too deep into it, but let's narrow it down to one or two like fundamental principles you share in the book that could help. I'm not necessarily the seasoned investor, but folks that are trying to, maybe they've been a stay-at-home mom for 18 years and they're thinking about their next steps as the kids move on, or maybe they're in a corporate career and they want to burn the ship on that career and do something. They just don't know what to do. What are some fundamentals that you can share with folks from the book that might help them make the next step?
I think a lot of it, well, all of it is relationships. And I think that they need to get in their mind that they can partner with people or work with people to learn the business and partner with them on one or two deals. The other thing that's important that even old and new investors need to realize is you're not begging for money. You're offering an opportunity to somebody who's got money sitting in an account collecting dust. So once you get that in your head and you realize that you are offering an opportunity, things just are wide open. And I never did mention to my friends or family ever um, about what we do or funding anything. But I had my brother-in-law and Mark's brother reach out to me and say, okay, tell me your spiel. I said, what spiel? I don't have a spiel.
Right.
But they saw what I was doing and they wanted to know how they could get in on it. And so people, once they know what you do and know that you can help them put their money to work. Mark had a retirement account making 3% interest. Now it's making 15%. So there's so much more money out there than you know. And I had previously looked up how many billions of dollars are sitting at the retirement accounts doing absolutely nothing. And it's just incredible.
Yeah. And it just takes a little bit of education to understand how that works, like self-directed accounts and stuff like that. But once you get that and get the basics, it's not that hard. You're not selling. To your point, I used to have this mindset of I don't want to ask because I feel like I'm bothering them and I'm begging or no, it's you're literally presenting them just a unique and different option for them to place money and earn a return. And if they're interested, great. If they're not, you haven't hurt anything. You just presented them an opportunity. That's it. And they either take it or they're not interested. It's one of the two things. So I love that as a fundamental principle. It's just kind of get out of your own head and understand that, well, first you got to know what to do with that capital, right? Like you got to be a good operator. So understand that piece of it. But if you need capital to do whatever you're looking to do, whether it's commercial, single family flips, whatever, the money's there. Just go and offer the opportunity rather than ask for the help. Because,
Right.
yeah, and I love that mindset. What else? Anything else?
Well, and as you're talking, I'm thinking, so another thing I think that's very helpful is have a report to give to your lender. And I use Rehab Valuator. I absolutely love Rehab Valuator. Takes 5-10 minutes to throw together a report. And I have people, they're like, oh, wow, that's very impressive. And I'm like, yeah, I spent days doing this.
Right. Yeah.
But and it'll help you with your numbers. If the numbers, because it's not a cut and dry formula, but punch it into Rehab Valuator and it's like, oh, well, maybe that is not a deal. If the repairs are that much, it really is not a deal. But the more you can present yourself, that you know what you're talking about, have the report to back up what you're saying. And like I said, if you're not comfortable, find somebody in your network and say, hey, will you work alongside me? Can I shadow you? Can we split the deal? Can you assist me in some way? And there'll be people that'll help you. Just know who you're partnering with. But have somebody hold your hand for the first deal or the second deal, and then you're off and running. They shouldn't be, you shouldn't need them the next, forever. But I think it's very helpful, just like me being a realtor assistant. I think that helped me tremendously with my real estate career because I followed him and I shadowed him and I learned a lot of stuff. So I think that just a lot of it's be intentional, be out there, talk to people, network with people. And that's where the deal maker community is so great. It's just good, honest people that you could reach out to anybody and they would help you out or hold your hand and share a deal with you till you were confident in what you're doing.
Yeah. And you mentioned Rehab Valuator. I got Daniel Clayman. I just had him on a couple weeks ago, but I was telling him as a lender, like at any given time, we might have 80 to 90 loans out there on the street. But when we have new borrowers come to us and they say, I'll email you over our, underwriting or whatever. If it comes over and I'll see Rehab Valuator, I get so excited. Like, and I'm not involved on the underwriting side of our business that much, but it is so clean. It is so easy for us to look at what they've put in there and then analyze it. So it's a great tool for those that aren't familiar with it. Yeah. So do you have any aspirations to write any more books?
Um, I wouldn't count that out. I'm going toward an educational platform, which what that looks like now, I don't really know, but I will be putting out some educational pieces because I finally realized that what I know and what I love, people are interested in it. And so I will be sharing some more educational items.
Gotcha. I like that. I think there's as much as much as the industry is flooded with courses and education stuff, it lacks a lot of quality options out there, right? Because it's I can put a course together on hard money lending today using ChatGPT, build it out, go put it out to my audience, and probably sell pretty good. But there's a ton of that out there. The courses, and I always tell folks, like, first find your mentor, find your room to be in. Dealmaker is a fantastic culture to be in, and then find the people that you can build relationships with, and they're going to steer you to the education, the material out there, the courses. I mean, you will certainly, just based off of your experience and the network you have built, you'll have a lot of attention on any course you build out because people will know it comes from a good place. It's not just another sales tactic to build up your revenue. Obviously, that's a piece of it, right? You want to be profitable with wherever you put your time, but researching and finding good networking groups, good mentors that offer authentic, really good, genuine courses and education, that is key to growing as an investor, I think. So certainly has helped me, throughout my career. So,
Oh yeah, that is key. And I think that the rooms that we're finding ourselves in, the people are just incredible. Talk about Daniel Clayman. I have a thing where every meetup I go to, I identify 3 people that I want to shake their hands because I told you at first I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit in the back and I'm gonna leave
I
and
love
be
that.
gone.
I love that. Yeah.
So I identified 3 people that I want to shake their hands, and one deal maker meetup was Jeff Watson and Jim Ingersoll, and I don't remember who the third person was. I think it was Daniel Clayman, but he didn't wind up going to that. But I did the next deal maker. He was on my radar, and I made sure and spoke with him. He is such a hoot and so smart. I love him. He's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. I think that it's just really important, the rooms that you find yourself in, just talk to them and they'll share with you what you should be reading or not reading or bother with. And my goal is not to put out regurgitated information. It's to put out real life. Hey, I'm a truck driver's daughter. I stayed at home for 18 years. I'm an introvert. I'm scared to death, real life information.
Yeah. It was Jim. Jim came to our first Dealmaker event last month, Jim Ingersoll, and he got up on the mic. Just I wanted to introduce him to the audience and everything, and he asked everybody, there was probably 60 people there, to raise their hands if they were an introvert. And I am not that. So I'm thinking, like, most people are not if they're in this room. Over half the hands went up. And to your point you're making right there, it just made me realize, like, most people are not comfortable in these environments, and the ones that show up are getting outside of their comfort zone just by walking through that door. And, like, to build upon that, and I've had several guests on here say the exact same thing as you. They would go to these meetings, they'd go to a deal maker or any plenty of events like that. They'd sit in the back, they'd pray nobody would come talk to them. Like,
Don't make eye
that
contact.
via on the breaks, they'd run to the restroom and sit there 10 minutes so they don't have to talk to anybody. But they were there, and that was their first step, right? And sometimes it takes a few of those to meet that one person. And then I love, especially for the introverts out there, to go in to these events with intent, and your intent of finding 3 people that you want to meet and shake their hands and have it might just be an introduction, but just a conversation with. that's a great place to start. Like, and you probably had to get uncomfortable to get to that point of just going up and introducing yourself. And I
Oh,
love that as an introvert to kind of go in, like gamify it a little bit. I'm gonna knock these things out when I'm there.
yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
That really helped a lot, because I had to do it. Three people, I already identified them. Were friends on Facebook or whatever, and I knew they were going to be there. So that's always been my thing, and that's what I talk about in Dealmaker Syntax. Is I tell people that when a new person walks through the door and they go sit down, I'm like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. Give them a hug. And then say, hey, I've got somebody that I want you to meet. Take them over to someone who knows who it is. And then pretty soon that conversation starts, and it takes that wallflower out of their comfort zone. Now they're very comfortable in the room.
Yep. I was in an event, another national mastermind I'm in. So it was a big room. It was like 300 people. And the leader said, all right, raise your hand if your deal flow, you have plenty of deal flow, but you're struggling with capitals, and a certain amount of hands go up. Raise your hand if you're struggling with deal flow, but you're just flush with capital, certain amount of hands go up. Raise your hand. And he said like 3 or 4 things. And he's like, okay, remember who just raised their hands. Now go talk to each other. Like, they've got what you need. He's got what you need. She's got what you need. Now let's put the pieces together. And that's such a simple exercise, but it's so profound because that's every room we go in. There's somebody that needs something that the other person has that complements each other. Now let's go find it.
Exactly. We do that a lot. Who are the lenders in the room? Raise your hand. And all the people that have been complaining they can't get funding, I'm like, go talk to them. Introduce
Right.
yourself. Yes. Yeah.
That's so good. So Lisa, I think that is, we could cover a lot more, but that is a great place to kind of wrap things up. Where can people, I know you said you're more active now on social media, so where can they go and find you and follow along?
I'm on Facebook, and please join Dealmaker Syntax. I think that that's a good place to be. I know you're probably in Dealmaker on Facebook. My Instagram is Lisa J. Ferris Invests. I,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Well, we'll link it in the show notes for anybody that's driving, can't write it down, but we'll link that, the link to Central Texas Steelmaker. And yeah, I think that'd be great. I love, I just I get so fired up talking to different people that have different stories to share because it's all inspirational to somebody. And like I said earlier, if one person can take one thing out of this and it takes them to the next step, then you've done your job. And by being on here, and I love it. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'm glad that our paths have crossed. Are you coming to Richmond in March?
Definitely. We don't miss it.
No, I'll officially meet you there then. So I'm
Sounds
excited about
great.
that.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
It's my pleasure, Lisa, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, that was good. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Burning the Ships. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsor, 608B Capital, helping real estate investors secure fast, reliable funding to fuel their boldest moves. If you're ready to take your investing to the next level, visit 608bcapital.com to learn more. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but it also helps us reach more people who are ready to burn the ships and commit fully to their goals. And don't forget to share the episode with someone who needs that extra push to take bold action. I'll leave you with this. Burning the ships isn't just about removing the option to retreat. It's about unlocking the courage to charge forward. No matter the odds, the past is behind you and the future is yours to conquer. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Burning the Ships.